All right, here we are, episode 2 of the Lowery Show. Hopefully episode 2 is better than that piece of shit episode 1. No, I'm just kidding. All right, but yeah, this is my podcast. It's just a fun experiment for me. I'm going to cover one topic each week. Probably mostly going to be about business because that's what I love. But I just want to see where it goes. I'm going to have some fun doing it. And appreciate anyone that's listening. So this week, I'm going to talk about a little tactic that has helped me have some success in business and pretty much life in general too. So it could be called going all in, putting yourself out there. It's a ballsy tactic that works. I like to call it burning the boat. All right, so one of my favorite stories from history, and I actually am a history nerd. I know a lot about history, but to be honest, I have no idea who this story was. It might even be like a folklore, but it was a long time ago, and this crazy motherfucker, this general, he took all his troops on a boat, and he brought them over to war. When they got there, they all got off the boat, ready to fight, and the first thing that he did was he burnt down the boat that they came in on. So basically, the soldiers only had two choices. They could either win the battle or they could die. They couldn't turn back. And I've used that tactic a few times. I think it might have even been before I ever heard this story. But the first time that I used it is when I quit my job after college. So I knew when I was 19 or 20 years old that I wanted to have my own business. For some reason, right after I graduated, though, I just kept on the normal life path. I got a regular job. It was a sales job. I was making phone calls. I was actually getting pretty good at it, selling ads. But about 3 months into the job, and I hated it every day because I was being pulled to do my own thing, and I knew that. 3 months into the job, I came in on a Monday morning, and I came at 9 o'clock. And about 9:20, I had the coffee on my desk. I got up to go to the bathroom, and I went out in the hallway, ready to pee, and I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. And I just turned and I walked out of there. I went out into my car, and I never came back. And I actually haven't worked for anyone else since then. Later that week, I put some screen printing equipment on a credit card, and my journey started then. But yeah, I haven't worked for anyone else since then, and I could have lied and taken a vacation to try to figure it out. I could have, tried to start my business on the side and keep the job. But I knew that wouldn't work for me. So I was like, nah, I just need to burn this boat to the ground. So the second time I did it was moving to Charleston. So I really, like I said last time, I moved to Charleston for no reason. I moved here to just start my business, focus on it, get away from everyone I know, start a journey. When I moved, my mom was crying. I think she was a little confused, but I knew that I needed to just like go off on my own to start this chapter of my life to make it work. So I got here, had my business going. Things were going well. I hired some employees. I actually bought a house. I bought the house with a little bit of borrowed money, which isn't really allowed. Some underwriters got tricked along the way, but either way, I paid the money. I got the house, and things were going well. I had a life set up here in Charleston. So about 16 months ago, the business basically failed. It essentially failed. So what happened was our sales were going great. We had 12 employees, and we had like $300,000 per month in sales, which was great. And December we had that, and I hired more people. And then January, February, March came around, and I wanted to keep those employees employed. So it's not as easy to get sales going in the early parts of the year as it is around Christmas time. But I actually did. I did keep the sales going. But the problem was I spent way too much on the Facebook ads, and I was actually losing money. So I was running my business with lots of sales, 12 employees, and I was losing money and ran it into the ground. And I was an idiot for doing that. It was my fault, but I did eventually figure it out. But basically, I couldn't return. When my business failed, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a boat to turn back to. So I had to stay and fight it out. So yeah, for both of those things, if I would have kept my job, if I would have done my business on the side, if I didn't have a mortgage, if I still lived in my safe hometown, if I had a boat to turn around to, the situation would have been much easier. And I probably would have got back on that boat and turned around. But you know what happened when I decided that, or I didn't have a choice, and I just had to keep fighting and figure the situation out because I didn't have a boat? Good things. So the first thing was I figured out how to run my business for real. I actually figured out how to run a profitable business. I had to fire some employees, which was a very difficult thing to do, especially after I just hyped them up about a growing business. And our sales went down to about $70,000, $80,000 per month. And that was less than half of what we were doing, much smaller. But I had to do that. I had to shrink everything down. We had to compact the business down in order for me to figure out how to run it. And through that time, I had to fight. There was times where I couldn't run Facebook ads because I owed them money. My bank accounts were negative. You can go deep into the hole if you try. I was deep in there. And I probably would have had a case for bankruptcy at some point, but I wanted to keep fighting. And I knew we had a good business. It wasn't that people weren't buying products. It was just that I ran it like crap, and that was my fault. So I didn't want to quit the business and then have Black Friday and holidays roll around and me not be doing the business anymore and be like, oh man, I wish I still had that business. So I knew that I needed to have to fight. And the fact that I was here and I really had no choice, it forced me to figure out how to run my business for real. The second thing that happened was that I felt like a boss, to be honest. I had to be smart to be able to get out of that. And I actually kind of had a great time. I took pictures of like some of the times. We actually had to sleep at the office a couple of nights. We rented out our house. We needed the money. And I have some pictures of that. At the time, I was like, we're going to look back on this and we're going to get through this. But I felt like a boss for figuring it out. I felt great about it. And if I would have been able to turn around and get back on my boat, I wouldn't have ever had that feeling. It's kind of like the soldier probably who, the guy that would have turned around and ran back to the boat, but he didn't have a choice. He had to stay. So he probably was like, oh shit, I got to fight. And he probably killed some people with like a sword or whatever. And he survived and they won. And he probably felt like the shit. He was probably the man. He was probably like, dude, I'm so happy you burnt that boat because now I'm a war hero. And it probably gave him confidence. So those are the things that happened as a result of doing this. So the good thing about this is it's much easier to have this mindset in our time. You're not going to die. This isn't actually a war. Let's be honest. It's the 21st century. Food and shelter aren't that hard to come by. McDonald's, $1 sandwiches. Like everyone has a basement or a shelter or somebody they can stay with. Food and shelter and clothing, not that hard to come by. So as crazy as this is for the soldier, it's the same tactic, but it's even easier in our time because we're not going to die as a result of failing at something. And I guess the other difference with the story is that in that story, the leader was the one who burnt down the boat. In the context of using this tactic in like modern day life and business, I guess you have to burn down your own boat, which could be a little bit harder to do. But I was thinking of some samples of this in the modern day world. So the simplest way and the easiest way is just to say something out loud. Make it real. Say it to other people, tweet it, maybe put it on social media. Just start saying it out loud. You'll start saying it. People will start hearing you say it, and then you'll believe it. They'll believe it, and then you'll see them believing it. And then you seeing them believe it will make you believe it even more because they believe it. And all of a sudden, you have a belief just because you said something out loud. So I've been using this tactic of saying it in a few different ways. The one way that it has actually been working is that I have not been sick in 17 years. I have not had a cold. And I've been saying this ever since I think 12 or 13 years. I've been saying I haven't been sick in 12 years. I haven't been sick in 13 years. I haven't been sick in 14 years. And I've been saying that. We're at 17 years now where I haven't been sick. And, this doesn't work for like deadly diseases or anything like that. But if I have like a sniffle coming on, this is how it works. Someone will get a sniffle and then they'll tell people, oh, I think I'm getting sick. And then the people start to believe that they're getting sick. And then they'll start to believe it because other people believe it. And then all of a sudden you have a belief that you're sick, giving your body permission to start sneezing and coughing and getting a higher temperature. I believe in that. I believe the fact that I say that I don't get sick and I keep saying it. Now if I get sick, it'll be such a big deal. So my body just complies with a belief. So that's one way to do it. And that's actually been working. The other two ways I'm trying it right now, we're going to see. So there's two I have currently ongoing that I've been saying out loud, and now I'm saying it on this podcast. So I'm putting it out in the world, and I'm going to try and make them come true through believing it. The first one is that I'm going to have a boy whenever I have a kid. I don't know when I'll have a kid, getting married next year, but whenever I have a kid, my first kid's going to be a boy. That's what I want. I'll be happy to have plenty of daughters, but I want my first son to be a boy. And I'm saying it out loud. I'm telling my body. I'm putting it out into the world. And I believe that I'm going to have a boy as my first kid. So let's see. That's the first tactic. That's the first time I'm using it. And the second one that we're going to see is I'm going to live until I'm 150 years old. I am going to live on this planet Earth till I'm 150 years old. That's the plan. I'm saying it out loud right now. I've been saying it to people I talk to. I'm putting it out in the world, and that's the plan. So now that I've said it, I'm going to hope in my brain and my body start to believe it. So when I turn 75, I'm going to be like, I still am only halfway into my life, instead of being like, I'm going to die soon. I'm starting to feel old. Like age is just like a number. I know that's a typical statement, but I really think it's the mind that keeps people alive. Like they set an expectation for themselves. You know, if they had kids and the kids grew up and now kids have kids and they're like, you know what? I did what I had to do. Like Joe Paterno, right after he had all that stuff go down at Penn State, he died. Only a year before, he was still coaching the football team. Like I think that the mind is what keeps you alive. So I'm telling myself right now that I'm going to live to 150 years old. So that's one of the ways. We'll see. Well, I guess we'll find out about the kid before we find out about living to 150, but we'll see. We'll see. What are some other examples? I guess like anytime you pay for something in advance, like a gym membership, if you pay, maybe you're more likely to go. But you still have to tell people. You have to tell people, because if you just pay for it, that's kind of like just thinking about it. Because maybe you'll pay for the gym membership, then you won't go, and then you'll justify it to yourself like, well, I didn't buy those 4 coffees I was going to buy, so that paid for the gym membership, so I didn't lose any money. That's not a good example, because you have to say it out loud to other people. Oh, I got a good one. You want to know what the best example is? The best example that I can think of in the modern day world of this burning the boat tactic is rappers who get tattoos all over their face and body. Like, why do they put all those tattoos all over their face and body? It's because they're committing to being entertainers. They're committed to putting their life into entertaining other people. Like MGK has Lil Pump. His tattoos are crazy. Tekashi 6ix9ine. Dude, that dude has crazy ass tattoos. Riff Raff. Someone has like Gucci Mane has like an ice cream cone tattoo on his face. Dude, they look so silly, those tattoos. But I respect it, because those guys are burning the boat because they can't go back to just a regular life after that. I've never seen a salesman or like a cashier or an insurance agent have all those crazy tattoos, which, based upon everything I know, I guess it works, because all those people I just mentioned that have those crazy tattoos, they are actually successful in the game of their career, of being an entertainer, of being a musician. So those guys burn the boat by getting all those tattoos and committed to a life of entertainment, because you can't really turn back from that. And, that's a great example. Rappers with tattoos all over their bodies. Those guys burn the boat. As far as I can tell, there's a 100% success rate, because I have yet to see someone checking out of the grocery store with crazy ass tattoos all over their face. So take that right there as a sign of this tactic works. But I think you guys get the idea. Burning the boat. That's the topic for this week. But this has been fun. And my question for you guys is, what topic should I talk about next? Business is the thing, but I could go anywhere with it. So let me know. Peace and love. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening. And this has been fun.